Hello everyone, welcome back to Vedic Enigma. So I hope that all of you are doing great. And in today's video, we will be talking about the planet Rahu and placement of Rahu in all the 12 houses. And we will also talk about that how to study this particular planet in your chart and what does it actually mean to have a strong Rahu and how can you identify if Rahu is not well placed in the chart. So we will be discussing in detail about all of these things. And but before we start with this video, I would really appreciate if you subscribe to my channel and if you give a thumbs up to this video. And if you have any comments or anything that you want to ask, so you can ask below in the comments. So let's start with the video now. And when we talk about this planet Rahu, I think there is a lot of misconception that is around this planet. And it is also a planet which is always, people are always scared of Rahu, Saturn and all these planets. But if you actually really try to understand, this particular planet in detail, you will understand that there is actually no need to be scared of this planet because this is actually it is such a magical planet that if it can represent fear in your chart, it can also represent being extremely confident in your chart. So it can behave like it can become anything that you want, so it is that kind of a planet. So it really depends on your moon actually, so that is why whenever we talk about Rahu, firstly we have to take into consideration the planet moon, because it is actually the north node of the moon. So it is not actually a physical planet, also it is like a point, in the chart, in your chart as well and in the sky as well. It's not like it does not exist physically, somewhere, but still it holds a lot of importance, and especially in today's day and age, and it impacts us big time, so it has that power to convert you into something that you have not even imagined in your life. So it can take you from a position where you were like literally nowhere, and it can take you to a position where you have everything in your life, and the vice versa also. So that kind of a transformative ability, this particular planet has. So firstly, whenever we talk about Rahu, we have to understand that the base, the controller of this planet is actually the planet Moon. So if you have a strong Moon in your chart, your Rahu will also be under control. Rahu will also be strong. But if suppose your Moon is in a very weak position, and Moon is suppose in the eighth house and it is under severe affliction, or it is in the sign of Scorpio, or it is in the sign of Cancer and it is placed in the 12th house, for example. So all the Dushtana houses, and on top of that, it has malefic aspects on it. Then the dignity of the moon becomes quite weak in the chart, So in that case, you will see that Rahu will negatively impact the person more. But if suppose you have a strong moon in your chart and moon is very powerful, so you will see that Rahu will also be under control, So the negative side or that, I would say the mental fear that we associate Rahu with will not be there so much. So that is why it is extremely important to first look at the placement of moon to understand this particular planet. And then on the next level, when we try to understand Rahu, so we have to understand that this is a planet which gains a lot of strength through its associations. So the kind of associations Rahu has in your chart, that is actually the way that it is becoming strong or it is becoming weak or it is becoming afflicted. So for example, if you have Rahu with a lot of planets in your chart, like suppose there are 4 or 5 planets sitting with Rahu, or there are 2 planets sitting with Rahu, then Rahu gains a lot of strength. Naturally, it becomes very powerful in the chart. Suppose you find that there is an exalted planet conjunct Rahu, or a planet in its own sign, or the dispositor of Rahu is exalted or it is very powerful, then again Rahu becomes very strong in the chart. So these are a few combinations that I have mentioned which makes this particular planet really strong. Then when we talk about the houses, so we have to see that when we talk about, for example, the second house, the third house, the sixth house, 10th house, 11th house, so these are some of the houses where Rahu actually is very powerful. And you will see that there are also certain houses where it gives a lot of fame to the person, so like the first house, second house, seventh house, 10th house. So it can provide a lot of fame to the person as well. And we also see that Rahu as a planet represents a multitude of things, So I think when we talk about, things like photography, when we talk about research, when we talk about technology, luxury, anything to do with wealth, So anything which is materialistic in nature, anything which is affecting your mind a lot, like you have that craving for that particular thing. So any kind of craving, any desire, greed, lust, so all these things we actually see and associate with this particular planet. And we also see that this is a planet which has zero patience, zero tolerance, for things, in the sense that it wants everything now. So that instant gratification is something which we very strongly associate with this planet Rahu. And it was also the master of intelligence, in the sense that that is why you will see that Rahu and Mercury associate very strongly together. Like they you can say that there is a lot of friendship that is there between these two particular planets. And even in the houses of Mercury, in the signs of Mercury, Rahu actually performs brilliantly, because it is able to use Mercury's intelligence, Mercury's mind, to solve anything. So Rahu as a planet is actually a very street smart planet. It is actually somewhat like Mercury only in a lot of ways. That is why we see that sometimes we associate the sign of Virgo also with this particular planet Rahu, even though it co-rules the sign of Aquarius, which is originally ruled by the planet Saturn. But Rahu also has a very dominant effect on Aquarius, as well as on the sign of Virgo, in which Mercury is exalted. So these are some of the things that we can see from this planet. And wherever you have Rahu placed in your chart, it is somewhere showing that you will be somewhat chasing that house forever in your life. That house will be like an obsession for you. That house can also be your weakness. You can do anything wrong in that house as well. So that house will always attract you, and it will work on your psyche a lot. Like how there are certain things like we always want those things in our life, but we somehow can't get it, or we want to take shortcuts to get that particular thing. So that is actually the placement, the planets that Rahu is conjunct, so that will actually tell you that where your mind is going, in that negative direction, where your mind is becoming weak. So these are the things which you can see from this planet. And like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, that Rahu can represent fear as well. Like it can make the person very fearful as well. That is also true. But at the same time, it can also make you very ultra confident, because it has that ability to adapt, to anything that you put it to. Like if you put Rahu in, suppose, a place like Mumbai, so it will adapt to the culture. It will start speaking the language, if you put Rahu in a place like Kerala, it will again adapt to that place and environment. So it has that mercurial ability, to adapt very quickly, to change very quickly. That is why wherever Rahu is placed in your chart, you will see tremendous changes in that particular house. And in that house also, you have that ability to adapt naturally. Your mind will work more in that house. You will be more curious about that house. So in a way, you can say that your mind is has somehow taken some extra pills to work powerfully in that house, so you are able to see beyond what others can't see in that house. So that is why whenever we talk about something that is futuristic, something that is related to technology, something that is going to change the world, so we have to take into consideration this planet Rahu. And right now we see that in the world of AI and what all is happening around us, and especially Rahu is transiting the sign of Aquarius right now. So it is very powerful actually. So you will see more kind of developments, more advanced methods that will come in the recent times, because of this particular planet. And we cannot ignore its significance, because whatever today our happiness unfortunately is dependent a lot on this particular planet for different reasons, because we are not living in Satyug, we are not living in a place where there is a lot of like everybody is very nice, so we have people who are cunning around us, we have all sorts of things happening, so that is why your Rahu also needs to be strong in this particular day and age, in order for you to sustain all these things, like to be adaptable to the environment where you are. And right now we also see that there is so much of intermingling of different cultures, different countries that is happening, like earlier all these things were very limited, so you will see that as this time will go like forward, the advancement of Rahu will increase way more, so we are on that verge of even like humanoid robots are going to come into the picture, and so it is very near actually, so all these things we will see. And Rahu has a big role to play in all these things. So in a way, you can say that there are also a lot of advantages that this particular planet offers us, in terms of technology in making our life easier. At the same time, you also have to be careful about the negative side, of it, like the addiction part, for example, or how like some people utilize this particular planet negatively and they start doing unethical things, out of it. So a very beautiful example I'll give, like somebody who has done something very negative, in terms of like committing a fraud or something like that, very highly unethical thing, will also have a very strong Rahu in their chart, definitely. And somebody who's a detective, who is an investigator, whose job is actually to find such criminals, will also have a strong Rahu in their chart. So you see that both of these individuals have a very strong Rahu, but the way that they have utilized this energy, the karma that they have done of Rahu is drastically different. One person has utilized it in a positive way and they have actually done something good for the society. So it is not always that if you have a strong Rahu, so you will be a negative person. So stop thinking like that. That any person who has a very strong Rahu, or any person who is materialistic, is very bad, or like is like Rahu only. So we have to stop typecasting people and things like this. We have to see that somebody who is actually like people who have developed all these AI tools and mechanisms, they also have a strong Rahu in their chart. That is why they have been able to do that, right? So you require that intelligence, you require that I would say mercurial nature, in you, in order for you to even like find out these things, in order to discover such things as well. So that is why we have understood that this is a very, very important planet. And if you want to excel in anything in life today, you need to have a strong Rahu. Even if suppose, because it is, inherent nature of Rahu is to be ambitious, is to have more desires. And if suppose you are not ambitious in anything, like suppose even if you're studying, for example, and you're not ambitious about getting marks, so you are now acting more like Ketu, which is the opposite energy, so that is why, like, if you have to do well in life in anything, be it anything, I'm saying, so you have to have that drive in you. So that drive, that ambition will only come from Rahu. So that is why you will see this particular planet, it's very goal focused. It is very targeted, it is very focused in life. It is not a planet that is actually very distracted. Like you will see Ketu people, they are confused in life, they don't know what to do, they are aimless in life. Ketu makes you like that. But Rahu, on the other hand, makes you laser sharp focused, if you they because they know that their goal is to attain this particular thing. So wherever Rahu is placed in your chart, your goal is to get that thing. So you will put in your level best, you will use your mind's maximum ability to get that particular thing in your life. So that is why in a way it makes you very smart as well. In a way, it makes you very ambitious as well, and you will also be very attached with that particular thing, like with that particular house wherever Rahu is placed, because in a way it is the north node of the moon, so that I would say like high attachment is there with that house. Wherever Ketu is there, you will be detached with that house, you will not care about that house so much. And wherever Rahu is placed, you will be overly attached with that house because those things matter a lot to you. So what we have understood so far is that, there is some kind of a greed that is there with that house. There is some obsession. There is some, like unethical activities also that can be done in that house, or you can also be cheated in that house. So that is also another possibility, that Rahu is a planet that can cheat you also, and it can get you cheated also. Like it can get you cheated and you can also cheat. So that is what the example that I gave, like somebody who is a thief or somebody who has done something like this, they would also have a strong Rahu. And somebody who was actually like like finding such criminals, like has actually done something positive in that sense, will also have a strong Rahu. So somebody who is suppose in the forensic department, like the forensic labs and all, they're working, they also have a strong Rahu. So you cannot function in certain professions without this particular planet's role. Even in fields like aviation, for example, like anything which is connected with planes, anything which is connected with research, with photography, like I mentioned, anything which has a lot of like like cinema, drama, fame, name, politics. So all these things come under this particular planet's domain. So it is actually a pretty important planet to have. And even in professions where you have to show your face a lot, where like suppose you are the face of the company and people are looking up to you, or like there is an image that, like you have to really care about your image, you have to look good all the time. So naturally you will find in those professions as well, you need to have a strong Rahu. If suppose you have a strong Ketu, for example, you will try to hide every time, somebody comes to take your interview, you will try to hide your face, so that is more of a Ketu behavior. So this is how you have to really see and understand this particular. So we also see that Rahu as a planet performs really good in certain zodiac signs. So for example, the sign of Gemini or Virgo, all like Mercury ruled rashis, and even in the sign of Taurus and Libra, or in Capricorn, Aquarius. So these are some of the signs in which this planet is actually really good and it is strong. And you will find that in all the Artha trine, like for example, like Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, like these are earth signs. So Rahu is actually very strong because, like we know, it is a materialistic planet. So that earth element is very strong in it naturally. And even in the Vayu trine, like the Vayu Rashis that are there, like Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, as well, it performs really good, So because the inherent nature of this planet is to, communicate, is to travel, and, it's like more extroverted energy. You can also understand it like that. And you will find that wherever Rahu is placed in your chart, you will actually be very extroverted about that house. If it is in a good dignity, again, you will show off and you will be flamboyant about that house as well. Suppose Rahu is not in a good dignity, then you will be secretive about that house. You will tend to hide things, or you will be a bit underconfident about that house. Let's just put it that way. You will not want to show off, in that house so much. So again, it depends on the association of Rahu with different planets, and also the sign in which it is placed, because you will see the sign and the planets Rahu's conjunct has a very strong impact, on this energy, because it starts behaving like that. Like I mentioned, it is, you have to understand Rahu as a chameleon. Like how you have seen a chameleon, like it would go on a brown colored tree and it will turn brown. If it goes on grass, it will turn green. You put it on anything which is, for example, red colored, it will become red. So it is exactly like this. You put Rahu in with Venus, it will start behaving like Venus. You put Rahu with Jupiter, it will start behaving like Jupiter. But again, there is a catch over here, so that mischievous side is always there, with it. So that is why this is a very unpredictable energy, and very, very sudden, so you never know what will happen in that house. You never know what might just come out of it. So it is that kind of an energy. And so it will always give very, very sudden results. That is something which you will definitely see. Even in Rahu Mahadasha, you will see that. In Rahu Antardasha, you will see that. And it has a direct connection with anything which is foreign, because again, it is going against, your culture, your religion, your language, community. So you have to do everything opposite, like opposite of your own culture, opposite of your own community. So that is the energy which Rahu feels very comfortable in, So it is not because obeying, the sun, it is going against the sun. It is always retro, So it has that outcast energy, and very different, very peculiar, like something which stands out, something which is very big. So all these are some of the things which we associate Rahu with. So wherever you have Rahu placed, you will also stand out in some way. You will stand out in that house. Some way you are not normal in that house. So there is either some extreme results you can expect in that house. So something is very different in that house for sure. So these are some of the things, and there are many, many more things which can also come out of it. But I have covered like some of the things, and so let's now start with all the different houses now. And but yeah, before I start with the houses, so we also have to understand that Rahu is actually exaltation sign of Rahu. So it is actually like there is actually no one particular Rashi in which Rahu is considered very, very exalted. So you can say that in Taurus also is exalted, in Gemini also it is exalted in a way. So it is very strong in both these Rashis for sure, like in Taurus and Gemini as well as in Virgo. And own sign you can say of Rahu is Aquarius. So these are like some of the 4 signs where you can actually say Rahu is very, very strong. And Rahu becomes like Rahu comes in Maran Karaksthan in the 9th house, So that is the MKS position of Rahu, which is actually the original house of Jupiter. So Rahu is not comfortable with going to temples and doing puja and all those things. So it is actually very atheist energy in that sense. So yeah, like you can't you can't put Rahu in the ninth house. So Rahu is very good in the third house, but definitely not in the ninth house. So these are some of the things which we have spoken about. Now let's start with the houses. So let's begin with the first house now. So if you have Rahu in the first house, then what does it mean? So as we know, first house has everything to do with yourself. It is your face, it is your personality, it is your entire life, how your entire life will pan out to be. So any planet which comes in the first house has definitely a very strong role to play in your life. So this is something which I have spoken in the previous videos as well. So if you have Rahu in the first house, so then it shows that in everything, no matter whatever decision you make in your life, no matter whatever you do, this planet will always somehow guide you. Like it is there sitting on top of your head all the time. So it will always influence you in some way or the other. You will have to take into consideration the planets say in everything in life. And because it is a retro energy, as we know, it is going against the motion of the sun. So everything in your life you can expect is not going to be in a normal situation, normal fashion. Be it your marriage, be it your career, everything is going to have either some suddenness to it, for sure, or something which is very peculiar or different in that, like it could be a very unorthodox marriage, something where maybe it was done in a very different manner, it was done very suddenly, it was out of your culture, religion, so something like that is definitely there, which we can associate with. Even with respect to career or profession, you can say that maybe they are doing a work where they have to do night shifts, like they sleep during the day and they wake up at night and they are doing the job. So there are many jobs that are actually like that as well, and these jobs are also increasing day by day. So some of the things like this you can expect in happening in your life. And with this, we also see that now this planet is actually having a very strong, hold of your entire personality. So you, in a way, have to behave and become like Rahu in some way. Like if you are not utilizing this planet's positive energy, then it is in a way not beneficial for your life. I would say if you have Rahu in the ascendant, so you have to be smart. You have to be clever in certain things, and you have to be intelligent. You have to behave logically in things. So Rahu, as you know, it is not actually very emotional planet. Like it is a very logical planet. It is like Mercury only, like I mentioned. So it is very practical. So if you start behaving impractically, suppose in your life, then this energy will go opposite. So if you have Rahu in the Lagna, you have to behave practically. That is what the planet is trying to tell you. And you will also see that with respect to wherever Rahu is situated, like I mentioned, you're always experimenting with that house. You're always trying out different things. You're never satisfied in that house. So it really shows with the first house, especially because this is a house of sun. It is actually has that Agni element really strong. So it tells you that these are actually the people who are actually never satisfied in life. So they are actually in a way very ambitious, very driven, and they are always like attaining and achieving a lot in life, but still they are somehow not satisfied. They feel like even this is not enough. They have to get more. So that is the kind of mentality which Rahu, gets in the first house. And even with respect to their looks, for example, with their haircut, with their hairstyle and everything on their face, they keep experimenting and trying out different things. And this is also something that I've noticed with people with Rahu in the first house, that even their face keeps changing a lot. Like how we spoke about moon in different houses will like moon in the first house will have a lot of effect on your face, and it can either make you very plump or it can make you very thin very quickly. Even with Rahu, I've observed that if you see their face in a span of like 5-6 years, you will feel like they are like 4 or 5 different people. So that is the kind of thing which you will see with this particular placement, that there is something in their face that keeps changing, that you can't recognize them after a year. They look very different in all the pictures. So very peculiar thing, because you will see that even the background which this planet has, it's very impossible to recognize, because it starts adapting, it becomes very different, depending upon the place, environment where they are. They start behaving and acting very differently as well. So very difficult for these people to conform with the things that are already there in the society, or even the, for example, faith somebody believes in, or the culture, the norms and all these things which are already set, in the society, in the traditions and all. So they are not really people who are actually, they will believe all these things in the first go. So they always tend to question that why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do this particular thing? So they are not easily convinced because they are using more intelligence, they are using more of their Mercury in all these areas as well. Because from the ascendant, Rahu will also aspect the fifth house and the ninth house, so it is having some effect on the ninth house related things as well. And with this, you will also see that their entire life, you will find no normalcy in their life, in their entire life. Everything will happen very suddenly or very differently, So you cannot expect this person's life to be the same what society expects, to be like, society tells you that you have to like do your education, you have to then get a job, you have to get married on time, you have to need to have children. So everything is very set one after the other, like, and there are certain time frames that are there for things. Like you can't have a child, suppose at 40 years of age. Like according to the society, it is not like all right to have it. People do have it, but society says that it's very, very late. So again, like whatever the society is telling, they have to go against it. Like their life will go against it. It's not even about they have to go, but their life cannot follow that same path, because they don't have sun in the Lagna, they have Rahu in the Lagna. So how can you expect that anything will happen according to what the society says, will happen in their life? And definitely anything which is connected with Rahu, whether it is a living signification or non-living, will have a very deep impact influence on their life. Even has that planet or like that, sorry, not the planet, the thing like living or non-living even has that chance of changing their life completely. Like for example, foreign, foreign is something which we associate with Rahu. Like paternal grandfather is someone we associate with Rahu, or any person who is like not of your different, not of your own culture, So any person who is outcast, in the society in some way. So all of them, all of the people will come under Rahu, So they have a very strong hold or influence or impact on your life in some way. Even like this person, for example, if they move abroad, their life can change, for the good. Like it can change 360 degrees also, because they have activated that planet's energy which is there in the Lagna. So Lagna is like your entire life, everything comes in it. And with this placement, I have also observed, again, depending upon the sign, because the sign, the planets associated are very, very important. If suppose you have signs like Scorpio, coming in, or you have eighth lord getting conjunct Rahu, then they are actually very secretive. They don't like to reveal a lot of things to people. They don't even like to show their face. So that is also what I've seen. But if you have planets like you have Sun Rahu combination, you have Rahu in Leo sign, you have the dispositor of Rahu very strong, or its connection is with the 10th house or with Sun, Venus, Mercury, then they are actually very social. They are very extroverted. They like showing their face to people. They love going out, So all that typical Rahu energy is there with them. If the dispositor is actually strong, if the planets associated are strong, and if the sign in which Rahu is placed is strong. So you will see that with weak Rahu, actually, if the dignity of Rahu is weak in the chart, or if Moon's dignity is weak, then only they will actually not like to show their face, because you have to understand that Rahu as a planet loves showing their face. Rahu is not a very like sit at home kind of a planet. It loves to go out, it loves to attend parties. It has that chirpy vibe and energy to it. So it loves to be famous. Like fame is associated with Rahu. So in the first house, if you are not behaving like that, or if you're not like that, it really shows that somewhere the dignity of Rahu is, that strength is not there in the dispositor or the planets that it is conjunct with, or the sign in which it is placed. So that is why you will see that with Rahu in the ascendant, like, because I have observed many charts with Rahu in the ascendant, and you will see, you cannot typecast that all of them are very different in their own ways. I can tell you. I cannot say that this person is the same as the second person. And this is the reason why they are all different, because the dispositor, like with Rahu, you cannot ignore the dispositor. You cannot ignore the planets Rahu is conjunct with. The sign in which Rahu is placed in. So all of these things will have a very deep impact. But definitely, I have noticed that such people, even on their face, you can see that that cleverness is there. Like if you put all the Rahu and first house people together, you will observe that some kind of shrewdness is definitely there with them. Some kind of street smartness is there with them. So they are naturally born with it. So they are very intelligent people in general. I have observed that they can do very well in anything. They can learn anything very quickly. So that grasping ability is there, because of that mercurial nature. So again, these are some of the things which you will observe about Rahu in the ascendant. So let's move to the second house now. So if you have Rahu in the second house, then what does it mean? So second house, as we know, it is associated with our wealth. It is associated with our speech. Anything which is connected with your family, with your culture, traditions, and all these things. So when Rahu is in the second house, so firstly, like I mentioned, that there is some kind of obsession or greed with respect to that house. So that obsession and greed for what you want to attain in your life is very strongly connected with your money. So they want to become rich, or it is connected with your family. Like they need to have a big family. Like they are very obsessed about their family, or it could even be like, for example, with respect to speech or like addictions, of any sort. Rahu in the second house can also give you that. Or if not addictions, then that desire to hoard a lot of food. So that is what I also have seen. Like such people love binge eating a lot. They love eating outside food a lot. So all these things you can see with Rahu in the second house. And they can also lie a lot, because second house is the house of speech, like how you speak. So with Rahu in the second house, they lie very, in a good way. Like you cannot make out that they're actually lying, so they are very good with those things. And it also shows that somewhere their mind is working a lot in second house matters, like mind is overstimulated in those matters, in the sense that they really, really know how to make money. They are very wise about their financial decisions, for example, or the kind of decisions that they need to make for their family, so they are actually, those things are something that they are deeply attached with, those things, like they matter a lot to them. And with second house Rahu, you will also observe that sometimes they have that, thing where they speak something and that thing comes true, So that is also you will see with Rahu in the second house, or even if like you have the second lord connected with Rahu in any way. And you will also see that wherever Rahu is placed, you can do something unethical in that house. Like there is a tendency to attain things quickly in that house, to take shortcuts in that house. So even like with respect to second house things, such people can have that greed to earn money quickly. Like, like there are people who are like, how can I earn this much amount in 1 year? So they always try to find ways and quick ways to do that. So that is always something that is kind of working on their mind a lot. And even with respect to second house matters, they can lie a lot, or they can like be very flamboyant about those things. Like they might not be having that much wealth also, but they will want to show off their wealth more, like I have so much, I have this and that. So that kind of a tendency also you will see. And in certain cases, if Rahu's dignity is not that strong, then you will see that they will actually be very secretive about that house. Like they will be secretive about their family. They will not like to reveal their face a lot. They will not like to reveal their wealth a lot, or they will not like to reveal the ways in which they have earned their method, like the method of earning wealth, So they are very secretive about those things as well. So all of these things we can see with Rahu in the second house. But definitely I've seen like such people are actually very they are very obsessed with their face for some reason, like very obsessed with the fact that how to look young, how to actually like have their face intact, in whatever way possible, because second house also like represents the face, and especially like the lips part and all these regions, all this region. So they are actually very obsessed about like maintaining that thing, because that immortality thing also we associate with this planet Rahu. So, they are kind of wanting how can they become immortal when it comes to second house things. So, we also see that wherever Rahu is placed, there is something foreign that is associated or can be associated with that house. So with Rahu in the second house, or even if it is with the second lord, so there can also be a possibility of earning money through foreign lands, like, or you're earning in a foreign currency. So that is also a possibility that we'll see with this. And even with respect to the family, also they can have a family which is very, I would say, people of different cultures are there in that family, like it's not like a family that is fully of one culture. So that is also something which you will observe with Rahu in the second house. And, it is a sudden energy for sure, it does not give results in a normal way. So if Rahu is in the second house, you will observe that even with respect to money matters, with respect to family things, there is always that sudden element that is involved. So there can be a sudden windfall of money or sudden losses also that can occur with this placement, or something sudden can happen in the family also, which will again like not be in a normal way, like there is something different about the family, or there is something which the events that happen with respect to the family are very sudden. So that is also something which you will observe with this. And even with respect to the food thing, like because it is the food and, whatever you consume, basically, they have to be a bit careful about consuming the right things with this, because there can also be certain chances of food poisoning, or, like they consumed something like from outside and that was not that great. So again, they have to be careful about the addiction part also, like I mentioned, and even with respect to the food they are eating. And with this, it's actually, I've observed it's very difficult for them to eat healthy food. It's a very big challenge for them because they will always be drawn towards eating even food items of different cuisines, not the food of your own culture, of your own country, like wanting to try out foods of different countries. So again, that kind of a tendency Rahu gives in the second house. So, but it can definitely make you a very good orator, very good speaker, and that in your speech there can be that power to mesmerize people, to capture their attention. So that is again one very big plus side of Rahu in the second house. So, but for careful analysis, you have to really observe the combinations, like the sign in which Rahu is placed, how the dispositor is placed. If you have Rahu placed with other planets, so those particular planets will also have a very direct impact on Rahu. So coming to the next house, which is the third house. So if you have Rahu in the third house, then what does it mean? So third house, as we know, Rahu actually performs very good in the third house because it is the house of Mercury. And in this house, Rahu actually is able to use its intelligence, in the best possible manner, for anything. So it gives you very good problem solving abilities, and mind is able to navigate around how to get things in life in the shortest, way possible. And even in Rahu in the third house, you will observe that it gives you a very powerful speech, like that speech to capture people's attention, and, how you can actually get anything with your speech actually, because speech is the like key to their success in a way, you can say that. So you will observe that a lot of people who are, very good at debating, for example, very good at politics, like people who are in that field where you have to speak a lot, even people who love debating. So in all these areas where you will see where Rahu in the third house gives excellent results. As we know that, the third house is connected with our siblings and with our communication, so especially with our younger siblings. So you will see that in this particular house, Rahu actually has that intelligence to communicate very effectively with people, So in any job where you have to like speak a lot, where you have to create an impression on people, where you have to present yourself, persuade someone, like, so especially in jobs like marketing, or even in any job which requires you to have a knack for certain skills, for certain technical skills also. So even such people can be brilliant at coding, at being like able to find the solution to any problem, So in those jobs, they are actually very well suited for. And in this particular house, you will see that Rahu's greed, which actually comes, from all the third house related things. So they are actually the people who are actually greedy for knowledge in a way. For more than knowledge, actually, they are greedy for skills and intellect, So these are the things which matter a lot to them, because they somehow know that in order to reach wherever they want to reach, they require the adequate skills and intellect for that. So Rahu tries its level best to actually make itself more knowledgeable, to get more information from everywhere. So they are actually the people who are very information focused. Wherever they will go, they will try to get whatever information they can, and then try to, use their mind and intelligence how to get that particular thing in life. And Rahu in the third house makes you very fearless, actually, because this is a house of courage, where you have to take risks in life. So Rahu, as we know, it is actually a planet which is not actually scared of taking risks, So it is able to take big risks in life when it is placed in the third house. And it is also not afraid, So it is able to Camouflage, I would say it's confidence, the fear part also. And even if they are actually very afraid from inside, they don't let it show on the outside, so they are very good at masking those things up. And like I mentioned, that you are deeply attached, to that particular house where Rahu is placed. So in the third house, it can show that deep attachment is there for your younger sibling. It can be there for your relatives, cousins, neighbors, or there is something karmic that is there, which, connects you and them, because you have Rahu in the third house. And it somewhere also shows that the other people who can be deeply attached to even their books, for example, even to their electronic gadgets. So all these things which are again connected with communication, like the communication devices, so they have a lot of obsession with getting the latest electronic gadgets also, so with Rahu in the third house, it gives you that as well. Even I've seen with respect to their handwriting, like if you see, their handwriting is actually very big, very prominent, and they write with a lot of emphasis. So that is again, you will see with Rahu in the third house, because they are trying to make an impression, trying to make a mark through their communication, through their writing, So with this, they can actually clear any kind of interview also, because anything where you have to, basically present yourself, you have to speak, they can do very well in those things. So provided Rahu's dignity is good in the chart, in the sense that its dispositor should be well placed, and suppose it is sitting with an exalted planet, or its dispositor is exalted in its own sign, then you can definitely say that it is going to give you good results in this sense. And with this, like I mentioned, that there is always a tendency to hide, or a tendency to be secretive, about where Rahu is placed. So these people can actually be very secretive about their travels, about their journeys, like short distance journey or traveling. Like they don't like to tell and disclose it to people where they're going next. So they can be secretive about those things as well. Even with respect to conversations they have with people, they can be secretive about that as well. And especially when it comes to like not telling people about their plans, like in the sense that what is their next plan, what do they next are targeting, and what are they thinking of achieving next. So they are very, they like to keep those things very hidden from people. And with this, you will also see that there is always something sudden, or something which is not very normal, which is associated with, their travel plans. Like travel plans change very suddenly, very quickly. And even with respect to their hobbies, interests, like all third house related things also, there is something which is peculiar about, those things. And even the kind of things that they like watching, the movies or books they like reading, so they can either be from, the things which Rahu represents naturally, like connected with mystery, suspense, horror, so all of these kind of genres they really like to really invest their time in. So these are the things, or they are very like low key about, those things. They don't like to reveal, all these kind of activities which they like doing. All the things like they might enjoy a lot, for example, doing adventurous activities, but they don't like to tell people about it. So again, like maintaining a very low-key profile with respect to those things. So you will observe all of these things with Rahu in the third house, but definitely it is a very strong placement to have overall. And this placement gives you very good results if the dispositor is good, in the chart. So coming to the next house, which is the fourth house. So fourth house, as we know, it is connected with our mother, with our homeland, and with our vehicles. So property, real estate, all these things we see from the fourth house. And it is also somewhere related to our comforts in life, like, and the things which gives you a lot of peace in life. So when you have Rahu in the fourth house, so firstly, it is a very strong placement to indicate somebody who could settle in a foreign country. It is one of the yogas for that. And if suppose this gets repeated in the Navamsha also, then there is a higher chance, for that. And it also somewhere shows that it's very difficult for them to get, peace or get that kind of comfort in their own place, like in their own homeland, or in their house itself. Like they always have to somehow step outside their house, step outside their hometown, like city where they have grown their entire life, and they have to move to a slightly different place in order to find success in life, in order to find happiness in life. So again, because Rahu in the fourth house somewhere disturbs the environment of the house also. Like there can be certain sudden transformations, sudden events that could have happened in their childhood early on, in their family. So it can somehow, I would say, give a skewed family environment, because you have Rahu Ketu coming in the 4-10 axis. So it can somewhere disturb the family life as well as the professional life in certain ways. Because we know wherever Rahu Ketu will come, it will somehow give some break there, or it will give some different kind of results, in that particular axis, in that particular house. And even with respect to, like I mentioned, that wherever Rahu is placed, you have a lot of great ambitions and desires with respect to that house. You are very greedy about that house in some way, So it somewhere shows that the things that are always running in their mind are connected with house, firstly with home. Like maybe like they need to have a big home, they need to have actually a very lavish home. So that can be like a desire, or it can be connected with a vehicle, like a very good luxury vehicle or a very big vehicle, because Rahu represents anything which is big, which is luxurious in nature. So because it is a materialistic planet, so it shows that somewhere constantly on your mind, these are the things which are constantly running. And similarly, it can also indicate that their mother can be quite unorthodox in certain ways. Mother can be actually very different from, I would say, the kind of people that are there in your family. Like if you see the other females that are there in your extended family, your mother's thought process and kind of ideology she would have can be very different from the rest. So in a way, she can stand out, and she will also, in a way, push you a lot to be ambitious in life, to drive, to get you that drive in life, to do well. So mother can be like a motivating force behind that as well. And so mother's nature can also be very much like Rahu. She can be very materialistic. She can be very ambitious. She can be a go-getter kind of a lady, and she can be a visionary as well. She can always like think big, like in life. So that is a kind of maybe the philosophy that she has given you in life. And even with this, you will see that with respect to, again, like or fourth house related things, you will constantly have to think big, with respect to even the house, with the vehicle, and even like the place where you are, like even your room, for example. So everything they want like very big and lavish in life. So that is somewhere where Rahu always, tells them that think like that. So, like I also mentioned that, wherever Rahu is placed in your chart, you can also be cheated or duped in that house in some way, or you can also cheat others in that house. So, either ways, both the possibilities are there. But it somewhere shows that you can be, in a way, illusioned about that house. Like you can be blinded in certain ways about that house because maybe you want that thing so much that you're not able to see the facts, or you're not able to see what you should have seen earlier. So with the fourth house Rahu, it can be possibility, like there can be certain possibilities of such things happening in like house related matters, in vehicle, car related matters. Such things can be there because, maybe that greed or like that impatience is there to attain those things, in that you don't somehow see, what like maybe you don't check the papers properly, or something like that can be there. So you have to be a bit careful about that house as well, wherever Rahu is placed, because there could be a tendency for certain things like this as well. So these are all the things which you can see with Rahu in the fourth house. Now coming to the next house, which is the fifth house. So when Rahu is placed in the fifth house, so firstly you will observe that all the things connected to the fifth house, there is some kind of a different nature, you can say, or like there is something done in a different manner, in an extreme manner, like there is no normalcy in the fifth house related matters. Or it can even indicate that you can go to an extreme to get those things in life. So that thing, like that obsession or that infatuation can be there with respect to kids, for example, with respect to children. Like there can be a greed to have a big family, for example. Like I have seen a person with this Rahu in the fifth house, and they like have the desire to have like 4 children. So like 4 number is also associated with Rahu. So this was something peculiar. And even with other cases I have seen with Rahu in the fifth house, like they have a lot of fascination with, wanting like a big family, like a lot of children. And even with Rahu in the fifth house, you will observe that infatuation comes with relationships also. Like they are the people who are actually like wanting and craving relationships a lot in their life, craving love a lot. Because you have to understand that your mind is constantly going in that direction, wherever Rahu is placed. Like you want that thing no matter what. So sometimes they are not able to see also and read between the lines, like what exactly is happening, and they can be duped by other people as well, with Rahu in the fifth house. So they have to be a bit careful about, those things as well. And it also somewhere shows that when Rahu is in the fifth house, with respect to the knowledge part, because fifth house is also connected with knowledge. It is connected with your education, with your undergrad education. So you can do actually very well in fields that are naturally connected with Rahu, like in fields of technology. Suppose they want to study about, aviation, like suppose they want to do anything in photography, in research, so these are some of the areas where their mind and Rahu will give its good results. Or suppose if they go to a foreign place to study, like they go to a different city to study, then also Rahu gives good results with being in the fifth house. And definitely it shows that there is something extreme or something that is abnormal can be there in the fifth house as well. Like they can have certain abnormal thoughts, or something abnormal might not be the right word, but something which is very bizarre or erratic, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to love matters. Like their way of expressing love can also be very overwhelming sometimes, or they can be a bit bizarre, or it can be in a peculiar manner, which other people might not sometimes understand. So that is also seen with Rahu in the fifth house. And it also somewhere shows that fifth house is also connected with your past life, so with your past life blessings and also with your past life. So somewhere it shows that the kind of things which Rahu wants you to do, or the kind of things that you are infatuated about in today's life, has a very strong connection with your past. So those are the things which are coming from the past only. Like the relationships, also the people, the females or males you have encountered in your relationship, they are all coming from the past. There is definitely a very strong karmic linkage here, because Rahu Ketu comes in your 5-11 axis. That's why. So all of these things you will see. And even with respect to the fifth house matters, they are also somewhere very greedy about those things. Like there can also be a tendency to do something unethical, unethical, like, how there are certain people who maybe if they don't do unethical, but they lie about their education, that I have this particular degree, I have done that, So something like that also you can see. And I've also observed certain cases where Rahu in the fifth house is there and they have lied about their education. Like they did not actually do that particular degree, but they kind of put it like they have done a degree from that particular college, So something like that it can indicate. And even the people who suppose they cheat, for example, in their exams and all, and they like, and you will say like a lot of people cheat, but they are Rahu the fifth house, people will cheat a lot. That tendency can be more. So, or they will help other people to cheat, so both ways it can work. But it somewhere shows that you are doing something wrong or mischievous, in fifth house related matters. Your mind is working more, or you are working in a cunning manner with respect to those things. And also with this placement, you will see that there can be a tendency where you can have children maybe done through IVF or through adoption, So something like they took a different approach to having kids instead of going for the normal way, because wherever Rahu sits, it can give something different, in that house. So something like in a different manner. So even like suppose somebody has 5 kids in today's day and age, it is a bit different because nobody has 5 kids. Like people are reducing, the number of kids that they're having these days. So again, like something which the society is not approving of in today's day and age, and the person is doing that. So something like that also you will see. And also natural tendency is there with this placement to attract people like in relation for relationships of different cultures, because Rahu is a foreign planet, so it always attracts somebody who is not of your own culture, not of your own community. So even if like you are a female, you can run into a male who will be of a different culture, community, or religion. And even as a female, the same can be experienced. So these are like some of the things which you will observe with Rahu in the fifth house. And there is also a lot of deep attachment, like wherever Rahu is placed, there is a deep attachment to that house. So there can be deep attachment that they can have with their kids, with their lover, with the person that they are in a relationship with. So all these things, even a deep attachment can be there with their education as well. So, or they are like maybe too focused or too obsessed with getting admission in a particular college. Some kind of things like that can also be there with Rahu in the fifth house. So these are the things which you can experience with this placement. Now moving to the next house, which is the sixth house. So if you have Rahu in the sixth house, then what does it mean? So Rahu in the sixth house is actually another very nice placement to have for Rahu because it is originally the house of Mercury. And in the sixth house, Rahu performs brilliantly. It has that intelligence, whatever it needs to problem solve, to do any kind of problem solving and to get out of anything, in life, basically. So with Rahu in the sixth house, I've seen people who are brilliant lawyers. Like I've seen a lot of lawyers with Rahu in the sixth house, and they are actually really good at whatever they are doing because sixth house is the house of law in a way, like it is the house of court cases, litigation, and legal things. So Rahu in the sixth house is a very good placement for that, and it also aspects the 10th house from there. Even people who are in the tech industry, again, a brilliant combination for that as well. So any person who is connected with anything which Rahu actually represents, because this is Rahu is coming in the Artha trine, 2, 6, 10. So it somewhere shows that this Rahu can also be the way of your livelihood. It can tell the work profession that you're doing. It can also get you money out of that particular thing. So again, like any work which is connected with research, which is connected with, like for example, being a detective, like doing anything which is connected to, for example, movies, like the cinema industry, the media industry, where you have to show your face a lot. If you're an influencer, for example, or if you're in politics, for example, or if you are doing any work which is connected with, like, what all those, any like shadow related work, anything which is connected with acting, any work which is connected with, for example, psychology, so psychiatry, so all of these things also Rahu represents. Or people who are working in the drug rehab centers and they are actually de-addicting people. So any work like that will also be promoted and supported by Rahu. So you can get a whole list of, all the professions and all also on the net and easily available everywhere. So all of those jobs, you can do naturally well in those things if you have Rahu in the sixth house. And in this particular house, you will also see that, there is a lot of deep attachment, or you can say that the person is obsessed in a way about the sixth house related matters more. So with Rahu in the sixth house, this Rahu can actually in a way give you a lot of fear also. In a way, if the dignity of Rahu is not good, like if the dispositor is not well placed, like fear around diseases, fear around their health. Or they can be obsessed about their health, like people who are always hitting the gym, people who are always eating healthy, because they are so focused and ambitious, to get and to attain that goal which they have set for themselves, that they are actually like you can say that they are very like laser sharp focused, on those things. So there can also be some fear, like because out of fear that they are doing this, or they're genuinely obsessed with, health and fitness, because sixth house is the house of health and fitness. And it can also indicate that they are the people who can actually like find a lot of loopholes, in certain things. Like they can find shortcuts, in attaining certain things. So Mercury actually really helps them, to come out of any situation also. And with this, there can also be a very deep attachment with the maternal side of the family, in the sense that your mother's uncle and aunts can have a very strong, like you can say, karmic attachment is there with them, with Rahu in the sixth house. And also, so with Rahu in the sixth house, you will also observe that, they can actually have a very irregular working pattern or irregular routine as well. Because sixth and 12th house is connected, this particular axis is connected with our routine, with our schedule, like what are the things that we do in our life on a day-to-day basis. So this Rahu can actually give some abruption or some like disruption, or something is there, in their work routine, which is not normal, or it's very difficult for them to follow a normal routine, like even if suppose they think about like, for example, that they will do, like they will go to the gym every day at 3 p.m., for example. So somehow there is always some kind of disruption, which because of which they are not able to do that, or their job itself is such, like I mentioned with Rahu in the first house as well, like they can have a night shift kind of a job, because of which they have to sleep during the day or they have to wake up all night. So something like that also you can observe with Rahu in the sixth house. And sixth house is also the house of your diseases, of your health. So Rahu, when it comes in the sixth house, so sometimes it can give you certain things which are difficult to diagnose. Like, doctors are not able to find out the reason why this particular, like these symptoms are happening to your body. So difficult to identify those diseases, because Rahu is actually, in a way, a mysterious kind of a planet. It's a secretive planet also. So with sixth house matters, it can, sometimes give that kind of secrecy when it comes to diseases and all. And sixth house also represents your, pets, like small animals. So they can also have some kind of an obsession or like deep attachment can be there with animals as well, with small animals. So, these are all the things which you will observe with Rahu in the sixth house. And definitely you will observe with this, it's very difficult for enemies to, defeat them. So any kind of enemy who will come your way, any person who is trying to put an obstacle in your way, Rahu in the sixth house works brilliantly to cut that person off. So that is the best part about Rahu in the sixth house, that for all the sixth house related matters, it is able to navigate through it. It is able to come out of it through its intelligence, and also because of the magical effect of Rahu. So these are all the things which you will observe with Rahu in the sixth house. Coming to the next house, which is the seventh house. So seventh house, as we know, is connected with our spouse. It is connected with marriage. It is connected with business. It is connected with anything which is opposite of you, because first house represents you, seventh house is the public, it's the opposite. So when Rahu is in the seventh house, so firstly it shows that, wherever Rahu is placed, there is definitely some kind of a obsession, infatuation that is there with that house. So that obsession, infatuation now is coming either through marriage, like this person is obsessed about marriage, like always thinking about marriage, or obsessed about business, doing your own work independently. So these are two things which you will observe where Rahu will always put your mind on. And with this, like I mentioned, that wherever Rahu is placed, you have to be a bit careful about that house, because there can be some kind of a deception, some kind of like, cheating that can be there in that house as well. There is one possibility of it. Of course, you have to look at other combinations as well. So that is why never to take people on the face value with Rahu in the seventh house, because seventh house is the public, people who are coming in contact with you. So there is a very strong chance that every person that is coming to you can have some influence of Rahu on them, because your chart has that thing. So if suppose they are from a different culture, caste, community, then it's good, because it shows that in some way Rahu's energy is getting utilized. But if suppose they're not from your same culture, like they're not from a different culture, caste, community, they are from your same culture, then there is a higher chance that Rahu's effects can, show up in the seventh house. So, because what happens sometimes, like I've observed with Rahu in the seventh house, that it can make the person very blinded, and sometimes the person trusts people easily. Sometimes you trust your partners, like business partners, very easily. You do partnership with somebody, and somehow you did not read between the lines. So, those kind of things can happen with Rahu in the seventh house. So, one has to be a bit careful about that. But definitely, a lot will depend on, again, I'm again saying this, the dispositor, the other planets that Rahu is conjunct with, aspects that are following on Rahu. So these things will definitely alter the thing. And with Rahu in the seventh house, you will also observe that, like I mentioned, that there is some kind of a fakeness, or some kind of a, you can say, ability to become someone that you're not. So when it comes to seventh house matters, so there can be a tendency in this person to become a bit different, to behave differently when it comes to meeting other people. when it comes to meeting people for marriage, when it comes to meeting people for business, they try to change or camouflage their original personality, so there is a tendency to be that as well, because they're trying to maybe sell themselves, or they are trying to get that particular deal, so they have to change maybe the way they speak or the way they dress, so something, it is definitely changing because Rahu has that changing ability to it, and it somewhere also shows that it's a natural combination to attract people of different cultures, of different castes, community, like any person, even if the person is your spouse, person is your business partner, there is a higher chance that the person will not be of the same culture, caste, community. And this is also one of the placements which can indicate the person can settle in a foreign country, because seventh house is also like 4 places away from the fourth house. So it is like a home away from home. And so this is also one of the placements which can give a lot of fame to the person also, like a lot of fame and name can come. And they can also settle in a foreign country. They can visit a lot of countries with this particular placement. And also with Rahu in the seventh house, you will observe that because Rahu Ketu are coming in your 1-7 axis, so there is like a lesser chance of any kind of normalcy that you are expecting in the seventh house related matters, So marriage related things, especially business related things, will happen suddenly, will happen, like some transformations, some sudden changes you will observe in both these things. There is not a normal trajectory that you can get those things normally in your life, because Rahu is having a dominant effect, on that as well. And this particular combination can also make the person very ambitious, very greedy in a way, like very motivated to do well in business also. If suppose they are thinking of doing a business, they will actually be very ambitious, in those matters. Even in marriage matters, they can be very ambitious. Like they can have huge ambitions when it comes to marrying that kind of a person. They can have like a very big list. I want this, I want that. So a lot of imagination, lot of like creativity of their head is going in deciding everything connected to their marriage also. So they are actually the kind of people who want a very big, lavish, fancy wedding for themselves. They want, like, they have a lot of dreams, aspirations associated with their marriage, associated with, like, I will do all these kind of things with my partner. I'll go here, I'll go there. So all these kind of things also you will expect with this particular combination. And on the negative side, you can say that Rahu's dignity is not good. So this particular combination can also give a lot of fear, around marriage, fear around business. So the same things can make the person more fearful also. So a lot depends on the dispositor, strength of the planets that Rahu is conjunct with, and the sign in which Rahu is placed in. So all these things will differ things a lot. So let's move to the next house, which is the eighth house. So eighth house, as we know, it is the house of your in-laws, of your spouse's family. It is the house of inheritance. It is the house of other people's wealth. It's a house of insurance, insurance companies. And it is also a very secretive, dark kind of a house, just like how Rahu is. And it is connected with occult research, secrets. So all these things. So firstly, when you find Rahu in the eighth house, because eighth house itself is a very sudden transformative kind of a house, and Rahu is also a very sudden transformative kind of a planet. So you are combining two such similar energies together. So what happens is that with this particular combination, there is a lot of major transformations, major changes that this person's life will go through. And these changes can also be for the good, because it is not always that such changes are always bad. So it really depends on the dignity of Rahu here, like the sign in which Rahu is placed and how well that particular planet is placed in your chart, and also Rahu's placement in the D9 chart. So you have to factor in all these things together, then you have to analyze this particular placement. But definitely it shows the potential for huge changes, huge transformations in life. And also you will see with this particular placement that they can actually, Rahu is actually gaining its strength, in a way you can say through eighth house related things. So such people can actually like maybe have a sudden windfall of money, coming in through inheritance, coming in through lottery, or suddenly they win a lot of money, or suddenly they lose a lot of money. So all those things are possible with this particular placement. Or suddenly they get a lot of fame, like nobody knew them before and suddenly overnight they got a lot of fame. So this is a combination for that as well. So again, if suppose Rahu's connection is there with the 10th house, it is connected with Venus in some way. So on all these cases, it can give that particular thing as well. And it somewhere shows that, like I mentioned, that wherever Rahu goes, there is some kind of an obsession, there is some kind of a greed, or mind really wants that thing in the fastest possible manner, you know. So in the eighth house, mind is actually really wanting all eighth house related things in the fastest possible manner. So mind can be after other people's money, you know, so finding shortcuts and ways to earn money in the fastest, quickest way possible. So this is one possibility with this, or being very secretive about, you know, money in general. So this can also indicate that as well. And this placement can also indicate that, you know, with Rahu in the eighth house, such people can actually be very interested in research, you know, in occult, and anything which is connected with eighth house, you know, so their mind works brilliantly in all the dark matters, you know, in all the hidden matters. So they are able to uncover a lot of mysteries in life, you know, so it is that kind of a placement. So very good placement to have if you want to do research, if you want to become an astrologer, if you are a psychiatrist, you know, psychologist. So there are certain professions also which this particular placement really supports well. Like if you want to be a detective, you want to do something in forensic sciences, you know. So for all these things, it is a good placement to have. And in a way, it also shows that this particular placement also pushes the person to move abroad, pushes the person to move to a different city, to a different country. And there you will see that Rahu is able to prosper more, is able to work more, because this particular placement also will aspect the 12th house, you know, and it will also aspect the 4th house. So both of these houses are, you know, like 12th house is connected with foreign countries and 4th house is connected with your own homeland, you know. So in a way, it shows that it is always pushing you to move away from your own homeland. And with this placement, it can also indicate that there can be certain, you can say, extreme results or extreme events can be associated with your family or your spouse's family, you know, because you have Rahu Ketu coming in the second eighth axis now, like the 2-8 axis. The second house is your family, eighth house is your spouse's family. So there is something which is very different, peculiar about, you know, the families over here. There can be like a difference of culture, there can be a difference of religion coming into the picture, you know, so something peculiar is there, but when it comes to the spouse's family also. And the spouse's family can also be very secretive in nature, you know, it can indicate that as well. And they can, again, like I said, they can be from a mixed culture, you know, speaking different languages. And they can also be, in a way, very ambitious in life. Like they can be from a materialistic, you know, they can be a materialistic family, like who is always pushing people to do well in life, you know, so that kind of a mentality the spouse's family can have. So when Rahu is in the ninth house, so we see that you know, ninth house is a position where Rahu comes in the Maran Karak Sthan position, MKS position. So any planet which is in MKS position feels like that it is dying. You know, so in the ninth house, Rahu feels like it is dying because it has to now go to the mandir. You know, it has to do some pujas, and it has to be more religious and pious in nature. And Rahu is a planet which hates doing all these things. You know, so this is the like the work that Jupiter as a planet would love doing. So that is why in the ninth house, Rahu actually is very uncomfortable. You know, so I'm not saying that it is a very bad position to have, but it is very uncomfortable. It is very awkward. It does not know what to do. So when Rahu is in the ninth house, so firstly, that is why it always somehow challenges, you know, the existing religious beliefs of people and the existing cultures, traditions, religions, you know, whatever that are there. They are never able to believe or take them on the face value. So in a way, there is a greater chance that the person will be an atheist or will be an agnostic, will not believe in, you know, these kind of things. And secondly, you will also observe that they have that questioning, you know, nature, you know, that why should I do this? Because they are using more of their Mercury related mind and intellect, you know, in all these ninth house related matters. So there can even be that kind of a nature to maybe rebel or argue with their professors, with their father, you know, with their elders, because ninth house also represents these kind of people. So for those kind of things, it can create a certain disturbances. And but it is a very good placement to have for foreign traveling, anything that you need to do connected with foreign. And Rahu in the ninth house can give a lot of opportunities for people to explore different cultures, for them to move different cities, travel a lot of places. So for that, it is a good placement to have. And even with this placement, you will observe that foreign people, foreign culture, foreign places support their career, also a lot. So when they move to a different country or to a different city, their career also prospers more. And with this, because ninth house also represents your father, your guru, your teachers. So your father could also have very strong Rahu-like traits. So father can be very ambitious, very driven as a person, can be, be a visionary, can always like think big, and will always push and motivate you to do well in life. So that is a kind of philosophy the father also believes in. And father can also himself be somebody who may be a bit unconventional, in certain ways, unorthodox in certain ways, in his approach in life, in his life philosophies and all. And with this placement, we also see that, whatever is connected with the ninth house now, with respect to your fortune, with respect to your bhagya, luck, and even with respect to your education, foreign, like post-grad education. So all of these things have a very sudden element to them. Like there can be certain sudden events associated with the education, with the post-grad education, or the time where they start their post-grad education, there can be certain sudden events which can be expected. And their bhagya and luck also prospers and rises in very sudden situations. So suddenly the bhagya can rise a lot, suddenly the bhagya can fall a lot, because ninth house is the house of your fortune, of your luck. So Rahu, as we know, it is a very unpredictable energy. So when they go maybe to a foreign country, there their bhagya and luck can prosper a lot. So they can actually benefit a lot if they move to a different culture, to a different city. And it can also indicate in general, you will see that there can be very life altering situations in their life which can have a major impact on their bhagya and luck. So this is another possibility which you will see. There can also be some kind of secrecy, regarding ninth house related things. So again, depending upon dignity of Rahu, such people in certain situations, I have seen that they don't like to reveal anything about their beliefs, about their foreign journeys, about their education. They are very secretive and very low key about all ninth house related things. In certain situations, you will see if Rahu's dispositor is strong, is well placed, they will like to flaunt and show off these things a lot. So that is also a possibility with this. And there can also be some kind of a fear that can be associated with ninth house related things. Like, there is some kind of a resistance which I have personally observed. Like they are resistant to attend pujas. They are resistant to attend any kind of havan, any kind of thing which is connected to God. So they always resist it, or they don't feel very comfortable doing those things, or they are not very interested in those things as well. So this is another possibility which you will see with Rahu in the ninth house. But definitely Rahu in the ninth house really expands your horizon a lot. Like the more they travel, the more I would say they expose themselves to different cultures, to different communities. Their growth you will see in life will happen a lot. The more they restrict themselves to one place, one city, the lesser their life will prosper. So a lot is because your bhagya now is getting controlled by Rahu. So you have to utilize that energy in some way, in some positive way, for it to rise. So that is what's very important for people with Rahu in the ninth house, to travel as much as they can. Even if suppose they learn different languages, they interact with people of different cultures, it's very good for them. So all of these things we can see with Rahu in the ninth house, but definitely you will observe that there can be certain like mind will always be infatuated about certain ninth house related things, and to get it in the fastest way possible. So mind can be very obsessed about foreign travel. Mind can be very obsessed about attaining a particular degree from a particular college, or mind can be very obsessed about increasing their bhagya luck, how to get lucky in life, So they'll try to always find some kind of shortcuts, some kind of loopholes, around all ninth house related things in life. So in a way, you can say that mind's weakness is also lying there, like weakness is there in the ninth house. Deep attachment can also be there in the ninth house, So deep attachment in the sense because mind is always thinking about those things, like you are obsessed about it. So that is why that attachment is there with that house. You're not detached from that house. You very well want things from that house. So these are all the things which you can see with Rahu in the ninth house. Coming to the 10th house now. So 10th house is again a Artha trine, as we know, and Rahu performs brilliantly in the 10th house. It is the house where Rahu feels very, very powerful, very strong. It is like, in the limelight, everybody is watching him. So it is very happy in the 10th house. And 10th house is literally, you can say it is like the throne. Every planet wants to be in the 10th house because it is the seat of power. That is why Sun and Mars, planets like Sun and Mars get its Digbal in the 10th house. So Rahu is also very superior, very powerful in the 10th house. And you will observe with this placement that they are very, very obsessed, infatuated with status, with titles, with designation, with position. So power is something which Rahu really, really seeks with the 10th house placement. So an excellent placement for people who are in politics, an excellent placement for people who are in CXO positions, people who want to be at that top position. So that ambition drive is very well there with Rahu in the 10th house. And you will observe a lot of people who are there in the public eye, like they're always, their limelight, is there on them. People are watching them, people want to interview them, so they are the people with Rahu in the 10th house. So even if you're doing a job in a company, you will always be like, you can be the center of attention of people, so that kind of a charismatic power Rahu gives in the 10th house. And 10th house is the house of your karma, it is the house of your work. It is a house of even like, for example, your father's family can also be seen from the 10th house. Your mother-in-law can also be seen from the 10th house. Spouse's home can also be seen from the 10th house. So spouse's home can be very big, very grand in certain ways, can be maybe in a different city, in a different country also possible. Spouse's mother, like mother-in-law, can be very ambitious, very go-getter with this. She can be like a visionary, always thinking big in life, and very materialistic in nature, very unconventional also in certain ways. So all these things you will observe with Rahu in the 10th house. And but more so importantly for the career part and for the karma part, Rahu here has a very big karma to achieve. Like you just don't get a placement like this just like that, with Rahu in the 10th house. There is definitely a stronger reason to get Rahu in the 10th house, because 10th house is the house where you can impact the masses, you can influence people. So people who have Rahu in the 10th house, their karma is to influence people, their karma is to connect with the masses, to be in a position where people are noticing them. So your karma is very strongly attached and connected to people with society. You cannot ignore that part for some reason. And you have been given a very special position, special task, for some reason. So again, what exactly the reason is, you have to again look at the dispositor of Rahu. You have to see the planets Rahu is conjunct with. That will give you a better idea, about what is the karma that Rahu is here to do, because there is definitely a very strong karma which Rahu has to execute in the 10th house. So like, for example, if we talk about Donald Trump's chart, he has Rahu in the 10th house with Sun. So Sun is again politics, Sun is government, and it is in the sign of Taurus. So Taurus is again a very strong, powerful, Rahu. So like this, you have to understand the planets that Rahu is conjunct with. Who is the dispositor? Where is the dispositor going? So that will give you like additional clues and insights about what exactly, who will help Rahu to execute that karma. What is actually the karma that Rahu is here to do? And you will also observe that the more number of planets get conjunct this particular Rahu in the 10th house, the higher the karma is, the stronger the karma is. The more like influence you have to put on other people. So that is why Rahu in the 10th house will give you that position, will give you that designation, will give you all of those things that you want. So it's a very good combination to attain materialistic things in life, to get everything that you want in life. Because from here, it will also aspect the second house, it will also aspect the sixth house. And it can even indicate that you can be involved in a profession which can be connected with Rahu. So you can be involved in a profession which is connected with, like fame, name, you can be an actor with this, you can be a media person, you can be like a celebrity. influencer, photographer, people who are working in the forensic department, psychologists, psychiatrists. So any profession also which is connected with Rahu can be possible. But one thing you have to understand that this Rahu will not give you very normal results when it comes to work and profession. It will not give you a normal job, you know. So if you're expecting that with this you will get a very regular 9 to 5 job, that is not going to happen. It will give you something very, very different. Even with respect to your career trajectory, you will see that in the span of 20 years, you will yourself note, if you notice their career trajectory, you will see the kind of changes, leaps and bounds that have happened in their professional journey. So this is how it gives results, because when Rahu has to give its results, it cannot give it in a very structured manner. It is not like, okay, after 3 years you'll get this position, after then 2 years you'll get this position. This is like a normal way, in which people get results. But with Rahu in the 10th house, the results will be extraordinary, but it will be done in a different manner. So maybe for that you might have like a gap of 2 years in between, then you didn't have anything, then suddenly you got some great job opportunity, then something happened. So the career trajectory, it is very convoluted, you know but when you see and when you look at the entire picture, then you feel like it was all worth it. But the way that the results have been given, it is at that moment it's difficult to understand. But this is how the energy of this planet is, and this is exactly how it will give results. Even with this placement, if they suppose move to a foreign country or utilize foreign connections in certain ways in their profession, that is brilliant for them, because Rahu itself is a foreign entity, it's a foreign planet. The more that they show their face, the more they are actually not shy, the better this Rahu works. So again, these are some of the things which you will observe with Rahu in the 10th house. Coming to the next house, which is the 11th house. So 11th house, as we know, it is the Mool Trikon Rashi of Rahu is there in the 11th house, which is the sign of Aquarius. And 11th house is also a very strong, powerful house for Rahu. It loves to be in the 11th house because this is the house of gains, desires, hopes, wishes, ambitions. So Rahu is all about these things. So when it is in the 11th house, it really makes all of these things really grand, for the person. Like in their head, they have very, very big aspirations in life. They have very big ambitions. They have very big dreams. Their hopes, wishes, whatever they want in life, it's very big, it's very fancy. So all those things you can expect with this particular placement. And it will also somewhere, always try to find certain shortcuts. Like your mind will always work towards getting certain shortcuts to attain these things. Like how can I get these things in the quickest manner possible? Because this is how Rahu works and functions. And you will also observe that the gains and the hopes, wishes, desires, and also the way that they get fulfilled, through Rahu, they are again in a very haphazard way, in a very convoluted way. It is not in a normal way. So Rahu, because wherever it sits, it will not give you very structured results. So sometimes it can give you like huge profits, huge gains, then suddenly there is nothing. So it is something like that haphazard energy is associated, wherever Rahu sits in. And with this placement, again, like it will aspect the third house, it will aspect the seventh house. So this is actually a karma trine, 3, 7, 11. So karma trine is associated with our desires, with our hopes, wishes, and even with people. So Rahu in the 11th house loves connecting with people, with networks. It loves going to parties, attending conferences, showing its face and drinking and having a good time there. So this is that kind of a placement. And the more number of planets you have like this, like if you have Mercury, Venus, like Rajasic planets, the more Rahu is going to be more flamboyant, in those matters. And this is also very strong placement to build like really strong connections. Like I have seen Rahu in the 11th house, people have like really good connections. Like they know people who are like really, really famous, and they can even know people who are maybe doing very well in their professional, circle. So it's very difficult to get hold of those people, and Rahu in the 11th house people have contact, with them. So this is that kind of a placement with Rahu in the 11th house. But definitely an overall a fantastic placement to have. And also with this, you will observe that they can actually be bit secretive about 11th house things as well. So they can actually be a bit secretive about where the money is coming from, how they've earned their money. They could have like multiple sources of income, so but they're not revealing a lot to everyone. So such tendencies can also be there with Rahu in the 11th house. Or they also, like, their mind is always working on that money part also, because 11th house is also your income. It is also connected with your gains. It is connected with money as well. So they're always working on, how do I make use of, like, my intelligence in the best possible manner to get all these, all the income and all the gains and in life. So mind is constantly, engrossed in those things. And even like 11th house represents your friends also, your network circle also. So mind is also constantly engrossed in those aspects as well. And 11th house is also connected with your elder sibling, like if you have an elder sibling, so that will be seen from the 11th house. So they can also have a very deep attachment or some kind of an obsession, or, like certain connection can be there with the elder sibling as well with this placement. And 11th house is also the house which is 6 places away from the 6th house, so it also in a way carries the energy of the 6th house. And that is why 11th house is also connected with humanitarian activities. It is connected with organizations who perform such humanitarian activities. So you will see with this particular placement that they can also be very good with like helping people at a large scale. Like they can be connected with certain organizations who are helping people at large scale. So that is again a kind of activity which Rahu can do here, provided it gets support of other planets also. Like if it gets support of the 6th lord, if it's connected with Saturn in any way, so it can definitely put you in those kind of things as well. The person can be interested, in those things as well. And it also shows that, wherever Rahu sits, there can be a tendency to be cheated in those things as well. So 11th house is like, your network, your friends and all. So there could be a tendency that friends can dupe this person. You can get cheated through friends or certain through some 11th house related things as well. So it is one of the possibilities. So the person has to be a bit careful, because what happens is that wherever Rahu sits, the mind becomes very illusioned about that house. Sometimes you're not able to read between the lines. Sometimes you're not able to see the finer things. So there can be a tendency like that also. So coming to the last house now, which is the 12th house. So when Rahu is there in the 12th house, then what does it mean? So 12th house, as we know, it is the final house and it represents exit, from the world. And it is a very peaceful house and it represents things which are very isolated, which are very aloof. So it is a house of foreign countries. It's a house of spirituality, of meditation, and loneliness, isolation is very strongly seen with this house. So when Rahu is there in the 12th house, so firstly you will observe that again it is a very strong, powerful placement to have for someone who wants to settle in a foreign country. So again, like 4th house Rahu, 8th house Rahu, 12th house Rahu, all these three placements support foreign settlement. It's one of the yogas for that. Of course, you have to see other yogas also. And also with this, you will see that this person is obsessed, or their mind is always craving isolation for some reason, because wherever Rahu sits, your mind is going in that direction. Mind is craving that particular thing. So over here in the 12th house, mind can either crave a lot of isolation, like they want to be alone, they want to just cut themselves off from the world, or the mind can also seek certain addictions with this, or the mind can also seek certain bed pleasures with this. So these are three possibilities that come with Rahu in the 12th house. So again, like all of these three will not happen with every person, So I'll explain like what the difference is. So the difference really lies in the dispositor of Rahu, planets Rahu is conjunct with, and how strong the dispositor is than the planets that are aspecting Rahu. So suppose you have like Rahu Venus in the 12th house. So there can be more possibility of the bed pleasure part. There can be more possibility of the addiction part, especially if you have Venus as a second lord, Venus as the eighth lord, and then it gets conjunct Rahu in the 12th house. Even like planets like Mercury can give that, like Rahu, Venus, Mercury combination in the 12th house. So something like this. If suppose you have Rahu Moon in the 12th house, then it can give the mind can be more towards isolation, being aloof from the world. Mind can also go in certain addictions. So for addictions, you have to need to have Moon also. And you need to have the second house also involved, in certain ways. So this is how you will actually, you can see. If suppose Rahu is alone, in the 12th house, then it is not, I would say, it does not have a lot of power in its own. If suppose it is conjunct a planet, then it becomes more powerful, to give 12th house results also. Or if suppose the dispositor is exalted or it's very strong, then also this Rahu will give very strong results of the 12th house. And it represents foreign countries, places that are away from your home, so it can make the mind be very obsessed about attaining foreign related things, in life, or going to a foreign country. So that also I have seen with Rahu in the 12th house, that the mind is constantly like finding ways how I can leave my country, how I can escape, all this sixth house things and just go to the 12th house, so mind is constantly focused on those things. Mind can also be constantly focused on spirituality, meditation related things also. So because you have to understand that Rahu is obsession, it is obsession of anything. So in the 12th house, if suppose you have supportive planets like you have Sun, Jupiter, making some connection with Rahu, it can also make the person very obsessed about spirituality, very obsessed about meditation. So they can actually be the person who wants to escape all this, work and all whatever they're doing, and they just want to go maybe in the Himalayas and, like for a spiritual retreat. So that can also be a possibility with Rahu in the 12th house. And with this, it also shows it makes a person very charitable. Like this Rahu in the 12th house loves donating things, loves giving things to people. So they can be very benevolent when it comes to those things. But yes, it can also make the person a bit obsessed about shoes, like they need to have like a shoe collection, and all those things, because 12th house is feet. So it can make the person obsessed about feet related products, and even with respect to sleeping, like they love sleeping a lot, so that can also be a possibility with this. But definitely you have to be a bit careful with this Rahu, because wherever Rahu goes, there can be certain deception or something that can happen in that house suddenly also. So, for example, if suppose this person goes to a foreign country, they move to a foreign country, they've activated Rahu energy. So something sudden can happen at that time, when they move, or they could get some deception, or they can be cheated, in some way also. That can also be a possibility with this. So again, the transits will depend a lot, like this thing will depend a lot on the transits. And this thing will also depend a lot on the dignity of Rahu, how strong, how weak Rahu is. Like suppose the lord of this planet is debilitated, it is afflicted, so then it shows that the dignity is not very great, so in those cases this thing can occur. And definitely transits have a role to play in certain things. So this is how you need to see, but you have to be a bit careful about the placement where Rahu is, because there can be certain unpredictable things that which you can expect out of that house. And there could also be a tendency to lie, cheat, or be cheated on, from that house. So that is why one has to be a bit careful when one activates, that particular house energy. So if you go in for spirituality, if you go to an ashram, if you go to a hospital also, for example, if you go to a police, like a jail, like anything connected with that also, or to a foreign country. So all of these are places where Rahu energy will be activated. Even at airports, so wherever there is a lot of intermingling of people of different cultures, so you have to be a bit careful at those places with Rahu in the 12th house. One thing you also have to keep in mind with Rahu in the 12th house, that 12th house is the house of expenses. High expenses it can give over here. It can make the expenses shoot up a lot, because Rahu, as we know, it is the planet which loves expanding things. So it can inflate the expenses a lot. So again, one has to keep in mind, how to control that. So these are all the things which you can expect and observe with Rahu in all the different houses. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching, and see you all the next time.